Thokozani Bogogo, Thokozani Bumkulu, Thokozani Ditsala. This is Mkulu Lwazi, Queen Lerato, speaking from Ubungoma, SA. Many of you know me as Queen Lwazi. Yes. I would like to talk about the self. Yes. About the self. Who is the self? Do we understand who we are? Are we able to define who we are so that we are better able to tackle whatever it is that comes our way, and even better able to understand what it is that is happening in our lives at any given time? Because understanding the self is a critical part of solving your own path, of crafting that own path that you desire. To start with, the self is what we call the shadow, we call the soul, we call the spirit, we call siriti, we call istunzi. That is the self. The self is made out of your shadow. It is part of your air element. Every time you breathe in, you are taking in that self. You are breathing in that critical part of you. As an individual, in your own temple, you have let's say you have three children. The first one being your mind, the second one being your body, which is also called the heart. This looks like a heart almost, but yeah, the heart. And then the third one is now your spirit. It's your soul. It's your shadow. Now the tricky part here is this third part of us is dissected into two. It has the like this cloth, black and white. It's in black and white. It has the white aspect, it has the black aspect, meaning it has the lighter aspect and it has the darker aspect. The darker aspect is what we call the shadow. The lighter aspect is what we call the spirit or the soul. So now, I have just done a bit of a drawing here or an elaboration, and hopefully you will be better able to understand. Let me come closer. You'll be better able to understand what I mean by the three different parts. Let me bring my light closer. Okay. So here it is. This is the self. So you have your higher self, which we call the soul. And then you have your lower self, which we call the shadow. Now, together, if they are imbalanced, then they cause an effect as if you have reached a T-junction in your life. And now you are finding it difficult to understand which way to go, what to do, how are you feeling, who are you? You start feeling numb, you start feeling confused, you start feeling lost, you start feeling like you need to find yourself. Meanwhile, it is because that soul of yours, that spirit, that higher self, and that lower self are not in harmony with each other. And then for them to be in harmony with each other, what is it that we have to do? Number one, this F here, this is on top here, this is where the M is. I'm going to quickly write it down. You can see me and go. Yes. So now, when we miss the point, M-I-S, when we miss the point, that is where we say we lose ourselves. Because we focus more on the mind and we focus on the heart. And they are the one that have support, as you see this line on the F, and the heart, the body, also has support because we focus on it. We take a bath, we eat, we exercise, we eat healthy, we look after our heart, and all of those. But then what we forget is that our shadow feels left out, because where it is, there is no support. And when there is no support, then it starts believing that it is going into what we call the bottomless pit. It starts believing that it is going all the way down. Why? Because it feels nothing, it sees nothing but that bottomless pit. And now, when you get to a point where your shadow or your soul starts feeling like it has hit a rock bottom, it is going to pull you down. It is going to literally pull you down to its level. It will do that. Sometimes it starts gradually to try and get you to click and start to recognize the self, and start to recognize the air that you breathe, and be grateful and create a relationship with it. And remember that you are not only I am. You are not only the mind and the heart or the body. You are the mind, you are the body, and you are the soul, the spirit. So then what you do, you have to remember that number one, you are yourself. You know, you get a lot of people when they are asked the question, who are you? Then they will say, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a woman, I'm a psychologist, I'm a lawyer, I'm a clerk, I'm this, I'm that. But little do we ever say, I am myself. And then that is the first acknowledgement that we need to do. To remember that first and foremost, before I become a daughter, before I become a woman, before I become all of the above, I am myself. And myself is my spirit, myself is my body, myself is my mind. And collectively, they form who we call the higher and the lower self being balanced. That is where you encounter what we call harmony in your own self, in your own space. That is where you start accepting life. That is where you start becoming happy with life. That is where you start manifesting things with ease. You think and it becomes. You wish and it happens, without you struggling, without you trying so hard, but simply by virtue of recognizing the self. Because the self, it has two parts. If we tend to recognize the spirit more and forget about the shadow, then the shadow will pull us down to its ground, to its level. Because we are aware that the shadow stays in the ground, or it stays by the wall. As you can see, my shadow there behind me. It is everywhere where we go. However, we hardly recognize it. We hardly understand its importance. Its importance is to balance yourself. You need to have the yin and yang within, and your shadow and your spirit is that yin and yang that is within. Your shadow is the one that will alert you when things are about to go wrong. Why? Because it lives in the shadow. It understands shadow work a lot. It understands signs of the shadow very, very, very well. So it will be the one that will warn you to say, be careful, something is about to happen. Counteract it in whatever way. And then the spirit will come in and say,